Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on episode 5 of Heaven Official's Blessing, and oh my god, a lot of notes from episode 3 and episode 4. Well, technically, I'm calling this episode 5 because Netflix splits episode 1 into 2 parts. So technically it's the 4th episode, but I'm calling it episode 5 since we split up episodes 1 and 2. So if you're confused, that is what. But yeah, I got lots of comments from episode 3, lots of comments from episode 4. So this is going to be a long intro, but we have lots to talk about because this story is really picking up and there's so many things I want to talk about. One thing, first and foremost, and several people have commented on this, I didn't realize that Tianguang Shunfu is, it is the baby story of MXTX. It's Scum Villain, I knew was the eldest story, but I had them switched. I thought it was Heaven Official's Blessing next, and then Modao Zushi was the youngest story, but no, this one is the most recent, which I think is pretty interesting. So yeah, good to know that we started out with the middle child, we're gonna hit the youngest child, and the eldest sibling is gonna round out our MXTX journey, which a lot of people like Scum Villain, so I'm really excited about it. But let's go through our episode 3 comments that we have first of all. Sunray pointed out that Xie Lian seems to have has less patience than Wuxian, which I think is really funny because yeah, Xie Lian is kind of just like, yeah, I'm not gonna sit here around here and let people talk. I like how just gung-ho our cinnamon bun deity is. And then talked about kind of in ancient China, how long nails were a status symbol, which kind of makes sense. It's sort of like the Victorian, a lot of in time, not necessarily Victorian, but in medieval literature, the wealthy were pale because they didn't go out and work in the sun. So they had paler skin than tanned people that were often peasants. So I like that the long nails is kind of like a symbol of someone being wealthy or having an upper class status. And then also in China, there has been a practice that Sunray pointed out where if it was kind of like a cultural practice where if a man died and wasn't married, some families would actually buy corpse brides to bury with their sons so that in the afterlife they would be married and not be single. And of course there's implications with that, like where they get the corpse brides and all that stuff, but it's interesting to know that that was a thing. And so therefore our Connie lookalike buying up the corpses to sell back kind of makes more sense. So thank you, Sunray. Qiang Fong noted how Xie Lian gets married and then the groom runs away. So it's like the opposite of the runaway bride. It's the runaway groom. Mr. Smirk is our runaway groom, which I think is really, really cute. I can't wait to find out more about him. I really can't. But also Xie Lian telling Feng and Yao not to interfere with the mortal affairs is an interesting contrast to Greek mythology where you have like gods and deities constantly getting involved in mortal affairs and constantly impacting them. Here, Xie Lian is like, no, let's back off. Let's not mess up with their stuff. But it also, I thought about this, could be a tie that we've seen little glimpses of Xie Lian's past and it's not good. So maybe in the past he did try to meddle with mortal affairs and it ended really badly. And so now he's like, nope, learned my lesson. Not going to do that anymore. So maybe that's why he's telling Feng and Yao that. Maybe his past experiences could have led him to that conclusion. Shizun talked about name pronunciation, that there is actually a guide in the back of volume 1 on page 393 and 396 of volume 1. I did check out page 396, so that Xie Lian, I feel better after seeing that. But that also, instead of calling them base slaves, the actual term for them in Chinese is binu. I like binu better. Binu's cooler. It's like, oh, these binu. Instead of fierce ghosts, instead of base slaves, it's binu. I like that. So thanks, Shizun. I appreciate it. Yellow Soy commented that Modao Zushi is more of a wuxia, and then TGCF is more of a zhansha, which wuxia is more, with Modao Zushi, is more akin to like Arthurian legends, and then your shusha is more like Greek mythology. And I really like that comparison. I like the idea that Modao Zushi is more like an Arthurian legendary tale where there's not really necessarily deities and stuff involved. There's some kind of like religious attributes talked about, but they're not like physical deities walking around doing things. Whereas with Greek mythology, yeah, the gods interact constantly in many different things and have physical forms. And that's kind of more related to Heaven Official's Blessing. That's really cool. So I appreciate that, Yellow Soy. And then Yellow Soy also pointed out that in the Modao Zushi Donghua, during the Mo Manor episodes right at the very beginning, there was that first person point of view choreography as well. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I'm glad you brought that up. So it has happened before. I think it makes me a little nauseous, so I've conveniently blocked it out of my mind because it made me feel like, this makes me queasy. And then Robin Hood Productions pointed out that the Donghua is actually seems to be more of like the main lover's perspective. So more of Mr. Smirk's perspective. Like we see the butterfly going around the screen. We see like the Mr. Smirk's perspective of like reaching for the hand and getting Xie Lian. And then when he goes to lift the veil up, Xie Lian's like, oh, heck no, I'm not just your damsel in distress. I got a mission to do. And I thought that was really cool because they say in contrast, the novel is more from the main character's perspective. So it's cool that we possibly are getting these shows because if you think about it, we've seen the butterfly flit around. So it could be that Mr. Smirk is watching this whole thing go down and seeing what's happened. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the idea that possibly the Donghua and novel are coming at the same events from a different perspective. That's really neat. And then Love for Human is says that Xie Lian stated that he is used to working alone. And that's really sad. That I commented in the last episode and the episode before that, that's really sad. He's doing all this detective work by himself. Mr. Smirk's not there to help him, kind of like the Wanji and Wuxian situation. And Feng and Yao are just kind of like bickering. They're more like juniors. They're not really partners in crime in this. And so it's kind of sad that Xie Lian is just kind of doing everything on his own. It's like, ugh. And they commented that he did say back in the first couple episodes that he was used to working alone. It's like, I want him to have a friend to work with him, like Mr. Smirk. So that was the comments for episode 3. Already taking 5 minutes. Awesome. And then episode 4 had some more comments. For Sunset, I really liked this. And I will be honest, I commented on a lot of people, and I'm sure YouTube will have lots more comments as well. But I was looking at the whole thing with Pei Ming and with Shanji from the eyes of being like, I don't agree, for the record, I don't agree with Shanji's actions. I think she did a lot of horrible things, like obviously killing the women, betraying her country, things like that. But emotionally, I can empathize with her because I've been in the same situation as her. So I'm like, I know how much that sucks and how it's so easy when you love someone, even if you say it's a fling, to catch feelings and let it get serious. I'm like, I know what that feels like. And it sucks when it's not reciprocated. And so I totally empathize with her emotionally, but action-wise, I'm like, no, she did some pretty shitty things that she should not have done, and it just escalated out of control. But For Sunset talks about how the translation with the subtitles in episode 4, that Pei stopped Zhangji from suicide after defeating her, and that the kiss was his way of saying, well, we're even, you don't owe me anything. And then they had the fling. And so I liked how For Sunset commented saying, this is the logic that only makes sense to playboys. It's like, yeah, that's the one thing in stories where there's the fling trope. It's like, come on, you know how many times we watched a romantic comedy where everybody's like, oh, it's just a fling, it doesn't mean anything. It's like, no, somebody's gonna catch feelings and take it too far, and then you guys are gonna have to deal with it. So it's like, it was doomed to be a bad result, right? Sarah Linda noted that Zhangji and Pei are the couple from the OP, so the woman with the nails and him, that's supposed to be them. I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. And then also I really liked what Sarah Linda said, that in both versions of the story, Ling Wen's version and Pei Jr.'s version, they're not the whole truth. And so it makes sense why Xie Lian is like, we can't judge them because we're outsiders. We don't know the whole story. So we can't pass judgment on them because we don't know the whole context. And so I feel like that's a great tie-in with Xie Lian's character in that he doesn't want to judge Mr. Smirk because we don't know the whole truth about the matter. And so I like the idea that Xie Lian is not someone that instantly judges, or it's very much like Wanji from Odazushi. We don't know the full story, so we can't exactly pass judgment and place blame, right? But also, apparently, the gods can appoint deputy gods to go with them, and then through merits or acts, they can ascend to godhood. So, for example, Pei Jr., it was said, I remember hearing this in the last episode being like, a massacre. What did he do? They said, what did he do before? And he's like, a massacre. So basically, he massacred a bunch of people, and that's how he got ascended to the upper levels of godhood. What? So, we'll talk about that here in a second. But also, Sarah Linda also talked about the conversation with Fengxin and Muqing being deputy gods, supposedly for Xie Lian. And I was like, where is this? I felt like I was on crazy pills, like I couldn't find it. And then Goldman came in and was like, it's in the temple scene where they're arguing. And so I went back and found that scene. Thank you all. I was like, oh, I feel so much better now. But yeah, there is a conversation where Feng and Yao basically admit that Muqing and Fengxin were basically the deputy gods for Xie Lian when he was first ascended, and then they became gods afterwards after he was demoted. I was like, okay, so that makes much more sense now why Mu Qing was so offended when Xie Lian didn't remember him. He's like, I was your deputy. You appointed me and you don't remember who I am. It's like, oh, that's why he's so offended. That makes a lot more sense. But also Anime Annie kind of added to that, saying that the Heavenly Realm, them promoting Pei Jr. based on the fact that he massacred an entire group, that's not exactly a good thing. So the Heavenly Realm may not exactly be all good. And it's like, okay, so if they're not all good, then is the Ghostly Realm all that bad? It's like, ugh! I'm getting shades of Modazushi just a hair, because even though when Wushin was thrown into the pit, on the burial mounds, and it was supposed to be all this negative energy, when Wushin as the Yiling Patriarch started using the ghosts around him and summoning them, some of the ghosts, they weren't evil. Some of them were just tragic, right? They weren't all evil. Some of them were good ghosts. They were just ghosts. So I like that MXTX might be exploring the possibility of things aren't exactly black and white. It's not good versus evil. There's probably good and bad in both realms. And so that's going to be interesting to explore. And also, I am glad Anime Annie pointed this out on Patreon, because my whole issue with Pei, he's not as bad as Daddy Jin. Daddy Jin is deplorable and I hate him as a character. Pei Ming is not like that. I'm not a big fan of Playboy characters. I'm just like, ugh, they're kind of sleazy to me, and I'm like, ugh. Which Daddy Jin is the worst Playboy, so it's why he's deplorable in Modazushi. But I feel like for Pei Ming, the only part that both he and Shanji did really bad things, and they should have communicated better. But there were two aspects of Pei Ming that I was like, they kind of rubbed me the wrong way. One is the fact that he didn't come himself to settle the matter. He sent his descendant. It's like, wow, really? You have all this godly power and you couldn't come down to take care of this, ghost with this unrequited love. You said you didn't catch feelings. It was just a fling, but you can't take care of it. I'm like, And then the other thing is kind of like what Xie Lian points out, is that if Pei Ming had taken care of the situation decades before when he could have, then Ying wouldn't have had to die. Ying probably would have still been alive. So I'm not going to pass judgment on Pei Ming, because we don't know. We've only seen him in flashback and we don't know the full story, but I'm kind of like, he's not on my favorite list right now, because I'm like, really? You sent your descendant to take care of your business for you? Okay. Sure, Jan. But I'm not going to pass any more judgment. I'm like, maybe he's better than that. I don't want to be spoiled. I don't want any clues or hints. We'll figure it out as we go, but he's not as bad as Daddy Jin. I'm just kind of like, ugh. It's just kind of like an icky feeling. But yeah, and then the other things that Ivan as Ida pointed out, that the whirlpool bandage does actually have a name. It's Roi, and it means as if to question. I like that. I feel that's very Xie Lian, like as if to question, like trying to question everything. And then the fact that TGCF is dealing with mortals and gods and ghosts, like on different levels and through different existences, versus Modazushi, which was mainly a cultivator story. Because yeah, the whole thing with Ying dying, I think, is so surprising to me, because we're used to like cultivators in Modazushi, they get like stabbed in the gut, they get like sliced through the chest, and they're fine. They walk it off like in a day. They're like, healed myself up, we're good. But she gets like tossed to the ground, bumps her head, and she's dead. It's like, oh, these humans are not, they're pretty fragile, So I think that's really, really interesting. I like that we're getting into this different levels of humanity and then godhood, and kind of dealing with that in this story, whereas Modazushi, everybody's kind of on an even keel. So that was really interesting. But yeah, that took a solid 13 minutes to get through, but I had lots of notes. Probably will be the same thing for episode 6, I'm sure. I'm sure it will be. But yeah, fun times, fun stuff, right? So I'm really excited to get into this episode and figure out what is going to happen. We left off with Xie Lian finding out about this human face disease that supposedly was gone hundreds of years ago, and now it's back, and it's tied to his past. So what do we do with that? But we'll find out, won't we? But I've talked enough. Let's dive into this, shall we? We are going to start Heaven Official's Blessing, episode 5 of season 1, and we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. I had to bring Whiteboard-kun out because this episode had so much information in it. What? So this is Whiteboard-kun. As I about knock him over. This is Whiteboard-kun, the helper and explainer of all things. I don't think I brought Whiteboard-kun out yet for Heaven Official's Blessing, but here he is. we need to break this down because a lot of stuff, this episode was like exposition central. It was like, here's a bunch of stuff you probably should know. And so I feel like we need to break down everything. So Mr. Smirk may have a name. He may be masquerading as mortal. Possibly there's some stuff about, we're going to talk about these calamities. We've got these like calamities, these ghost kings or worse. This episode was just like, oh, hey, so you've just got all this, you've got like some breadcrumbs. Now here's a whole loaf of bread, like all at once. What? Yeah, we got a lot to go through. So let's not waste any more time. I want to go back to this episode. We got lots to talk about. There's things that need to be discussed. Because it was just like, I'm like, where do we even start? So we just need to go through this in chronological order and tie in everything. So we need to go back to this boy that may be more than what he seems. So we thought that Ying made him sound like just a boy from the side village that had nothing special. He was just a boy in bandages. But something is amiss with him. There's more to him than this, right? This boy that's covered in blood. So let's talk about, we gotta tie this all together somehow. So I'd say over here, we're gonna do the boy with the bandages. The boy with the bandages and the human face disease, right? The human face disease. Because Xie Lian brings up a really good point, and that is that this boy, if supposedly this disease was really contagious, but even we established that Ying helped him like change his bandages and stuff, so Ying never got the disease, and she was clearly mortal, so something's up. Either he's a ghost, either he's just like a spirit that has the disease on him. It's very apparent that Xie Lian is like, this is serious, and this is tied to his past, this plague. And he goes to touch him, and the kid runs away, right? And he's like, come back. And then our poor Xie Lian, he just gets like all these heavy fogs around this kid. I'm like, what is his deal? So we don't exactly know, but he leaves the bandages behind, right? And something has triggered, so whatever has happened concerning the bandaged boy, it affects Xie Lian somehow. Like it zaps his energy or something, or either that or he had ran out of energy he did just battle Zhangji, so he did just battle her and probably expelled all of his energy. So maybe that's why he got dizzy and fell over. Maybe that was it. But clearly it's emotionally affecting him a lot. And these two deputy gods, Feng and Yao, don't know any different. They weren't around hundreds of years ago. They've just been appointed. We don't know exactly the timeline of when Feng and Yao were appointed as deputy gods, but they clearly weren't around when the human face disease was a thing. So they were not freaked out by it like Xie Lian is. And if you notice, during that whole Zoom conference with all the deities, Xie Lian did not mention the face disease boy. I mean, they established that he needed to be found, but he didn't bring it up amongst all the deities. He conveniently kept that with Ling Wen. It was like, hey, we need to find him. But they didn't bring it up again during the conference with the gods because it seems to be a very sore subject in his past, right? And he's clearly we don't get to see his eyes as he says that he has the human face disease. And how could it be? Are you sure? He's like, most patients would burn the affected area part with fire. And his face still has the burn scar. So I mean, yeah, if the people there thought that the best way to control or cure the disease was to burn their affected parts of their face, yeah, it would scar them for life. That, of course, would probably cause pandemonium. So he thinks that the boy has the burn scars from the past, and he thinks that he may not have the disease anymore, but he still has the scarring from it. And yeah, they're like, shouldn't it have died out with the Zhanli kingdom? That seems to be hundreds of years ago. And he's like, besides the disease is highly contagious, nobody's gotten it. So there haven't been any other reports. So something's up, right? And he's like, I know what I saw. Maybe he's already recovered, but just left with the scar. And so then, so Yao and, well, this is Yang. So Feng Fong says, so are you saying that he could have been hundreds of years old? I'm like, okay, well that changes things. If this little kid is actually hundreds of years old, he's not mortal. He's either a god or a ghost or something. He's not part of the mortal realm if he's hundreds of years old, right? Or he's a cultivator. We don't know for sure, but he's clearly not just a mortal kid like Ying thought. So he could possibly be, could be hundreds of years old. Could be hundreds of years old. Okay, so something else I've been thinking of this entire time is didn't they say back in the first episode, didn't they talk about, I thought they talked about how ghosts could shapeshift or something. Wasn't that mentioned in episode 1 or 2, talking about them shapeshifting and changing their appearance? Because, well, they were saying that the bride, they were suspecting that the bridegroom originally could shapeshift and change their appearance. And so we have to be careful and know that it's not one of us, right? So, and then they determined it wasn't a bridegroom, it was a bride. So by that logic with the ghosts, could Mr. Smirk, could this Hua Chong be the kid in the bandages with the face thing and also be the kid on the cart? I don't know. I don't think so though, because the kid at the gravestone, I don't think it's Mr. Smirk, because he would be trying to get Xie Lian's attention. And this kid ran away and wanted nothing to do with Xie Lian when he was trying to figure things out. So I don't think that's it. But the fact that he could be hundreds of years old is pretty freaky, because that means he's not human. He's like, it's possible. There are many things we're unsure of. Yeah, we don't know anything about this kid, really, except that Ying was helping him. We should inform Ling Wen. We need to mobilize more men and track him down as soon as possible. Like, Xie Lian is like, I'm not wasting time. We got to get this kid and figure out what's up. He is like instantly gets serious and is like, no, we need to catch this kid. So they're like mobilizing. He's like, we need to mobilize troops and catch him. Okay. Whatever this is, Xie Lian is taking it very seriously. Like, we do not need to let him go. Okay. Seems legit. All right, we're going to skip the intro, as much as I love it. There's too much happening in this episode to do not. So we go back to the heavenly realm, and oh my god, wherever Ling Wen is, there are so many scrolls. It's just scrolls upon scrolls upon scrolls, like mountains of scrolls. It feels like Beauty and the Beast, where there's like more books than you could ever read in a lifetime. It's like, what the heck? And they've got these tables. They have this bureau of investigators, like reading through all of the scrolls. Ridiculous. It's kind of amazing that there's this bureaucracy in the heavenly realm, and they have all of these just people at desk jobs reading scrolls 24/7, and they have like little ladders getting scrolls up the piles. It's quite ridiculous, to be honest. And so we cut to Ling Wen. The human face disease is a severe issue. And she says, don't worry, Your Highness. We'll do everything we can to track the boy down. And he's like, okay, good. So the heavenly realm, okay. The heavenly realm says that it is a serious issue. So whatever happened with this human face disease was pretty bad. Bad enough that the heavenly realm was like, no, we need to take this seriously and find this kid. Okay. And so then she asks, is there anything else troubling you? Like, you look less like a cinnamon bun than usual. What's wrong? And he's like, do you think the human face disease could mean? And she says, okay, so he's talking about the calamity. Okay, the calamity, the bai Zhujing. We're going to talk about Xuxiang. We're going to talk about that white calamity. So that's the thing with the mask. We're going to talk about that because I was like, but wait, we're going to talk about that. So, okay. And she says, calm down, like, which is kind of freaky in the moment because Xie Lian looks calm, like, it's just like, seems totally fine. And she's like, calm down. Like, she can sense something that we, the audience, cannot. Like, something is bubbling under the surface. Let's not overthink until the investigations are done. So clearly it's this white calamity that's the problem, and Xie Lian is afraid that it's back and that it's still around. Okay. And he's like, I have something else to tell you about Mount Yuzhen. And she's like, I like that Ling Wen's like, look, let's just go to the communication array. Let's just get on the Zoom call now, because otherwise we're going to take it to him anyway. We might as well go and just address it all in front of them. The officials are there discussing. Okay. So I like that we join in on this Zoom call, like as in the middle of a conversation, like we just dive in the middle of things. So I want to see if there's anything that stood out. They're like, shouldn't he behave himself? I drank it naturally. He has more experience than you. People have luck. That's abandoning. You live too kind, you live freely. Even if I'm kind, I'm done with this. Okay, so we get to Nan Fong. So Nan Fong is like, Zhangji won't tell us the location of the green ghost. Okay, so we need to establish that there are 4 calamities. We're going to put them up here. 4 calamities. I like that they're called calamities. That's pretty cool. All right. And we're going to establish that the green ghost is one of them. So the first one we had anything about was the green ghost. And we'll address the green ghost more when we get back to them. But apparently, going over here, old Nan Fong. So Nan Fong has been put in charge of Zhangji. So they've been interrogating her instead of putting her in the mountain yet. And they're trying to find the location of the green ghost. So Zhangji is a supposed subordinate of the green ghost. Okay. And they know that because they say she was making an offering to him with the corpse forest. That the green ghost likes really creepy, nasty things. And the corpse forest was like a way for her to like appease him. Okay. Seems to make sense. And keeps asking to see Pei Ming. Can anyone take her away? And she still wants to see Pei Ming. Okay. All right. And so then we get a lot of other deities in this that don't have names yet. And I'm assuming that we may find out later or in the novel what their names are. And so I don't want to know them yet. The only one that really stands out is the man with white hair, is the old man. He's the only one that stands out. We don't exactly know who he is yet, but we'll find out. So I don't want to know. We'll find out, or maybe it's given off in this conversation. So this younger guy goes, General Nong Pong, there's no space in other palaces. Your palace has been repaired. Oh, so they can't take him to any other palaces because Xie Lian destroyed them all when he ascended. So that's kind of the tie-in. All of the palaces. So Xie Lian destroyed the palaces that could have housed Zhangji. Okay, destroyed the palaces in the heavenly realm. Awfully convenient excuse, right? They're like, let her stay a few more days until we find a mountain to imprison her. And Nan Fong is like, can you speed it up? Is my palace a madhouse? Like, Nan Fong's like, my place is not a facility to house these, like, unrequited love, these mentally crazy women that have drove themselves insane into ghosts. Nope. General Pei Jr., do you have a spare room? He's like, yeah, and that's honestly, Nan Fong gets kind of stuck with Zhangji, but I'm like, why is he stuck with her? This is Pei's problem. Why isn't Pei Jr. having the spare room for her? Like, this all kind of goes back to Pei Ming, so why isn't he putting her there? And then Pei Jr. is like, General Zhangji has always been stubborn and violent. Only General Nanyang can handle her. That's convenient. You guys, what? No. So yeah, so Pei Jr. Refuses to house her. Convenient that only Nan Fong can handle her. Okay. But you got her, and so then the older man says Mingguang Palace got into trouble this time. Okay, which kind of like Zhangji is already a handful, but now the green ghost Qi Rong is also involved. So his name is Qi Rong. Interesting. Okay. I'm all about this calamity business. This sounds fun. All right, a nuisance. And Xie Lian's like, I don't know about any of this. Did I miss something? Like, what? It's been a while since I ascended. What's been going on? I feel like it's like Hamilton, where Xie Lian comes in and he's like, what did I miss? I feel like somebody should edit that thing from Hamilton. And Xie Lian's just like, I've been gone. What's been happening? So we established that he is a nuisance. That is definitely put up there. What's the matter with the hanging corpses woods in Mount Yuzhen? Was the green ghost Qirong also there? And then, so, old Zhangjin, old Muqing, who's ascended, everybody's just having this conversation. Nobody's really bothered Xie Lian, but Muqing over here is like, you're late as usual. It's like, Muqing and, Fengshen, we'll talk about them. They are interesting in this, especially how they act around Xie Lian. We'll talk about this. Your Highness. And here's the thing. Xie Lian is like, I was delayed by work. That was I know his voice actor is the same voice actor as Yao from Odazushi. When he turns to give Muqing a smile, he's like, I was delayed taking care of this business you all couldn't attend to. So it's that customer service smile where he's like, I feel like we have, if Yao was a cinnamon bun and the protagonist of this story, what would it be like? And that's with Xie Lian. But obviously Xie Lian is much more cinnamon bunny than Yao. I like that Muqing's like, The green ghost was not at Mount Yuzhen, but the hanging corpses woods was Shanji's offering to him. So just like to call him there. Okay. Hanging corpses woods again. Qirong's taste is nasty. Okay, so it has a nasty taste. Nasty tastes. He sounds like a god. He sounds like a god that just likes things that are gross instead of like the refined things. But here's the discussion. We established that Pei Jr. was able to ascend into godhood because he killed a bunch of people, which sounds problematic. But I guess it depends on who those people were, perhaps, according to the heavenly realm. Whereas right now we know that the green ghost is a nuisance, likes gross things. Okay, obviously, yeah, a forest of hanging corpses is pretty bad. But I'm like, okay, what else do we have? We're going to get on there. Even his fellow ghosts despise his tastes. So he even is despised, supposedly, by fellow ghosts. Now, what I'm writing up here is only the hearsay that we get in this meeting, because MXTX loves to talk about the controversy of gossip and how gossip, you can't always trust one person's perspective until you have the whole picture. So everything that I'm writing on here is from the heavenly realm's perspective. Like the webs and the tales that they have spun is what they know. I'm like, how do you know his fellow ghost despises taste? Where did you hear that from? Who has told you these things? Where did you find this information out? And so then Nan Yang says, damn it, I don't care about it. Is General Pei back? Make the crazy lady tell us where the green ghost is and send her away. General Pei's romantic affair has caused chaos. Yeah, that's kind of the whole point here, is that this affair has caused chaos. That's my thing with Pei. It's like, you kind of, even though you did not cause this problem, her actions were kind of her own, you still had a hand in it because y'all both agreed to this fling. So you did have a part in this. I do feel like he should take some responsibility, but we'll get into this because Pei Jr. kind of says something about it. Says, Shanji was completely infatuated with General Pei. Just let him see her. He should restrain himself. Don't cause chaos and harass everyone. And Pei Jr. says that would be useless. She would go even madder. But I'm like, I don't know. I guess that could happen. They say no, she'll go madder. But I feel like if she's a ghost, it's like unfinished business. So if she sees him, would it make her go madder, or would her soul finally be at peace if she could communicate with him and he could be like, no, here's why I did what I did. Rest in peace now. Peace out. I don't know. I feel like you would think that she'd be able to resolve everything and then be able to like pass peacefully, but Pei Jr. says that's not going to happen. It's just going to be the opposite. She's going to get even worse. And then Zhangji, so then Xie Lian is like, so Zhangji is the green ghost subordinate. And they say, yes, Zhangji has been dead for hundreds of years. Although she held a grudge, she wasn't a nuisance. So this is the part that I'm like, Also, too, it says that she held a grudge, but she wasn't bad news till she hooked up with this green ghost. But was okay until she got with the green ghost, is what they're establishing. But I'm like, so she just like sat in turmoil and despair for hundreds of years and nobody did anything to get rid of her. And then the moment she hooked up with this green ghost that was a bit more of a delinquent, then now it's a problem. So I'm guessing they're saying that she wasn't killing people. It was when she began to work for the green ghost that she became a real nuisance. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. Which makes me be like, is that really true though? Because again, I don't trust anything in this series so far, especially with this table of gossiping gods. I'm like, I don't trust any of them really until we know for sure, right? But yeah, it's like, so she wasn't really a nuisance. So you just let this woman just stir and stew in turmoil for hundreds of years, but you didn't do anything about it until she got with somebody powerful that offered her some power and a means to enact revenge. And then you're like, oh, maybe we should have taken care of her. It's interesting. I don't know. Zhangji didn't have much power. If it wasn't for Qi Rong, she wouldn't have caused trouble. So it's like, we're just going to blame Qi Rong on this. Though General Pei is not here, we still have General Pei Jr. saying, okay, we'll track Qi Rong down, but Mingguang Palace should take some responsibilities. Yeah, I agree. I'm like, yeah, track this green ghost down. I mean, what she's doing isn't right, but I do think Pei should take some responsibility to it and shouldn't just pass the buck off to everyone else. And then Ling Wen is like, let's stop. Let's not get the gossip train, the rumor train going any further yet. And then I like that Lady Ling Wen is trying to give Xie Lian some credit. She's like, hey, our boy Xie Lian helped crack the code, crack the case wide open. And those who work for General Shanjin and Nanyang and General Mingguang. Okay. So it's really their deputies and Xie Lian who helped solve the case. As the one in charge of this task, do you have anything to add, Your Highness? Okay, so that's interesting. So yeah, I like that Ling Wen is giving credit to old Xie Lian and the deputies. Because yeah, they did solve the case. So, okay, I want to put over here in pink this whole thing about the fetus spirit. The fetus spirit that was singing. Because, yeah, that was brought out that only Xie Lian could hear it. Yeah, that's interesting. That was brought up in episode 1, and then we didn't really touch base on it since then, when I was in the sedan chair. However, the two deputy gods couldn't hear it. I guess its powers are quite remarkable. This baby spirit, the fetus spirit, we've never heard of a fetus spirit. Like, they're like, what? He's like, do you know about this? And so instantly, Mu Qing is like, we don't know anything about it. It's like, nothing? So it says, since Your Highness is the only one who heard it, could it be a hallucination? And I'm like, I don't think Xie Lian was hallucinating. So the heavenly realm does not know, supposedly. Okay. Interesting. I feel like this is going to be something that gets brought up. The whole issue is suspicious. And this white-haired guy is like, Mingguang Palace ought to explain, like, he is wanting retribution from General Pei. This white-haired deity is like, General Pei needs to answer for all of this. And it's like, whoa. And so then Nong Fong is like, I don't care about dead baby ghosts. Take Shanji away first. I love that Nong Fong is like, I don't care about some fetus spirit. as the curtains billow, and the other gods are like, oh my gosh. And wait until we find a suitable mountain. And Ling Wen's like, God, this is what I deal with every day. So okay. As for this fetus spirit, she's like, I'll look into it. Okay. So Ling Wen's like, I'll throw you a bone, Xie Lian. And so Ling Wen is going to look into it. Okay. So I feel like that's gonna be like a side plot that's gonna come back like 2 volumes from now, and we'll be like, oh yeah, the fetus spirit. Anything else? And he's like, yes, I still have much more to talk about. I love that Xie Lian is like, yep, got more things. One more thing. Doesn't talk about, so again, the curious thing is he doesn't bring up the human face disease with the council of the heavenly realm. I'm assuming because one, they've already heard about it from, but Ling Wen said that they would investigate and send people to go after him, but they haven't talked about it. But Xie Lian does not mention it here, which is curious. I feel like it's such a close personal topic. He doesn't want to talk about it. It's a sore subject because it has to do with him getting demoted from his godhood, so he doesn't want to bring it up and tear open any more wounds. So instead, he says, I came across a youngster who could control silver butterflies. Hasn't told Ling Wen about this, which is funny because she's like, wait, what? Yeah, a youngster who could control silver butterflies, which makes me think back to the kid on the card at the end because he was kind of like a youngster in appearance. He looked youthful like Xie Lian. And then, yeah, Ling Wen's like, what did you just say? We didn't talk about this beforehand. And everybody says he said he met Hua Chong. What are all these? Oh. And he's like, his name is Hua Chong. It suits him well. Like, oh my God. Xie Lian is instantly smitten with Mr. Smirk. Instantly smitten. Okay, so we're going to put him right here. So we have Hua Chong. All right. Who is AKA Mr. Smirk. All right. And he has another name, which is a very long, ghostly name. We'll get to that. But yeah, I like that Xie Lian is instantly like, suits him well. What a great name for him. It's like, you're hiding nothing, sir. And he says it in front of all of the deities. Ling Wen is like, nope. Ling Wen is like, something has happened because, okay, Ling Wen, who usually keeps her composure, is scared of him. Okay. That seems, I feel like he's tied to, if he's tied to the boy in the bandages, he's tied to Xie Lian's past. She knows about Xie Lian's past. I feel like there's parts that Xie Lian is either in denial of or literally doesn't remember. So that's interesting. And all of the other deities are like, oof. They're like, have you not heard of the Four Great Calamities? And he says, no. He's like, no, I've been gone for a while. What happened while I was, what did I miss? Like, what did I miss? And then that's when they're like, it's not His Highness's fault. He was in the mortal realm for hundreds of years. Okay. So this was Mooching talking very condescendingly to old poor Xie Lian. So Mooching, okay. Mooching is kind of condescending towards Xie Lian in this. And established that he was in the mortal realm, that Xie Lian was in the mortal realm for hundreds of years. So what I don't know is, does that mean that he just died and kept being reborn over and over again for several generations until he ascended? Is it like a cultivator thing where he can live for hundreds of years without dying? And that would kind of explain why the boy with the bandages was able to still be alive. Or if you get demoted, do you just live in this frozen state of being? Well, I don't know that for sure. So, and maybe we'll find out in the novel or in this. But yeah, he's like, he has no clue what's going on. He wouldn't know. And Ling Wen's like, don't insult him. Be nice. Or was that Nan Fan that said that? I think it was Nan Fan that said that. That was condescending. Maybe, yeah, it was Nan Fan that was condescending. But anyway, the white-haired man, the white-haired deity, he's like, what are the four great calamities? And he brings out that Huaisang fan. They're like, let's all get a Hua song on this and talk about this. He says there are 4 ghost kings. Okay, so the 4 calamities, they are ghost kings. See, I said in episode 1, if Hua Chong was king of the ghosts, he's one of them. So the Night Touring Green Lantern is one of them. So they call him, okay, the Night touring Green Lantern. Okay, and that's Chi-Rong. Okay. And we get pictures. I love that we get images of them. Yes, as he's slowly fanning himself. Ooh, but he's the weakest. Oh, and he's like under the trees of the blood of the blood force. He kind of has a Yang vibe to him, but he has like little elf ears. So, okay. So, let it be known he is the weakest. Weakest of the four. Okay. He kind of looks like Yang if Yang was an elf. He has like long claws and everything. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't attained the devastation rank. So he's not devastation. Not the worst kind. Okay. So he might be a wrath, maybe. Okay. Hasn't attained devastation. He also has the worst taste and likes disgusting stuff. Okay, and he's a troublemaker. Okay. So he's like a troublemaker. Okay. A nuisance, right? So he likes nasty things. He's just a troublemaker, just stirs up stuff, but he's not incredibly strong. He's not the strongest. Okay. Then we have the black ghost, which the black ghost, the black water submerging boats. So I'm going to put this down here. So we have the black ghost, and they call him black water submerging boats. Interesting. I really like the design of the black ghost. It's pretty cool. The design of the black ghost, he seldom shows up, and the heaven realm doesn't know much about him. He kind of looks like he has like this long hair and it's Tyndall. It's interesting. He kind of maybe has like a Xingqian vibe to him, a Xingqian vibe. So he seldom appears, which makes sense if he's like in the depths of the ocean sinking boats. And the heaven realm knows little about him. Okay. So he's kind of mysterious, but I like that we have him like with the blue water and the black like boats and everything all around him. Except for the fact that he is a water ghost. So it's a water ghoul. Okay, so he is a water ghost. Okay. And that's going to kind of tie back later on in this episode, so we'll get back to that. And then the white-clothed calamity. And then that's when Ling Wen speaks up. Ling Wen speaks up and says he has another name. The white-clothed calamity. Okay. Okay, so the white-clothed calamity. And Ling Wen is like he has another name. Bai Wushang. Bai or Bai Wushang. Okay. So this is curious. And she looks over at Xie Lian, and Xie Lian is like, oh my God. And that's where we have the human face disease. And so we see, but this is the thing. Okay, so this is the thing. In the ghost that has the white cloths and everything, and has like the mask that was from the last episode, I thought that was Xie Lian. I thought Xie Lian, because in the very beginning, in episode 1, Xie Lian had the mask on as the crown prince at the festival when he caught the boy with the bandages on his face. And then in the last episode where he had the flashback, it was, he turned, when we saw the flashback and turned around, there was the mask. I thought that was Xie Lian. I thought Xie Lian was the white cloth, the one with the mask, but it's apparently someone else that just happens to be dressed similarly to Xie Lian. So, Bai Wushang. And we see all these people and has I love the paper lanterns with the heads coming off it. It looks very Yi City. Very Yi City. And it has the mask that has the frowning face and the crying of tears. And it has hanging from a hook. Oh, I'm going to say that I love the design. The design of Bai Wushang is very interesting. But Xie Lian has such a reaction to that. So either I thought it was Xie Lian. I'm like, did Xie Lian become Bai Wushang and get demoted from that? Because they said he was a plague god. Or did he, or is it one of those things where like Bai Wusheng is like a reflection or a mirror of Xie Lian, and Xie Lian tried to fight him, and then, or was Xie Lian confused as him, and people thought like they stopped worshiping him because they thought he was the cause of it all? I don't know. But he is clearly, Xie Lian has a very negative reaction, like he has known Bai Wusheng before. Okay. Calamities follow Bai Wusheng, the first kingdom he destroyed. Oh, so the calamities follow Bai Wusheng. Okay, the first kingdom he destroyed. Is all right to clear your throat, Ling Wen. So Xianlei was the first. Xianlei was the first kingdom that he destroyed, right? Okay. Okay, interesting. Like she's trying to save face and say, Your Highness, Bai Wusheng has been dead for hundreds of years. Okay, so maybe it is somebody else. Maybe it is. So it said it was dead. Dead for hundreds of years. So I guess it is somebody different. It's not Xie Lian. It's not Xie Lian. It's someone different. And they've been dead for a long time, supposedly. So there's no need to worry about them, supposedly. Interesting. And he literally has to stop his hand. And he says, I know, don't worry about me. So whatever this Bai Wusheng is tied to the fall of Xianle. Xianle is tied to the fall of that kingdom, is tied to Xie Lian's demotion from being a god, and is the source of most of his pain. Sweet. Cool. But they look so similar. It's interesting. Even if Bai Wusheng still lives, we don't have time to deal with him right now. Okay, so that's the silver butterflies you saw are the deathly spirit butterflies. Their master is the major headache of the heaven realm. Okay, so he is master of the butterflies, of course. Master of butterflies. Heavenly realm headache. Fun times. Fun times. All right. And I love the red Huachang, known as the Crimson Rain Sought Flower. What a name, right? What a name. Crimson Rain, so like blood, sought flower. Okay, and then we see him with the butterfly charm hanging from the umbrella, and we see the face. Huachang must be an alias. His appearance is also just a masquerade. Huh, okay. So they believe that the name is only an alias and appearance is a masquerade. So it's not what he really looks like. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So does it matter? After he challenged 33 gods in a row, no one would ever forget that face. And Xie Lian's like, he challenged 33 gods, and Ling Wen's like, we gotta explain everything. So he asked to duel with 35 gods, and if he lost, he would leave his bone ashes to the heaven realm. Okay, so for some reason, he fought 35 gods, or 33 gods, and 2 did not choose to fight him. I'm going to say that the 2 that did not fight him, I'm going to say it's Mu Qing and Feng Xin. I'm going to say they're the 2 that didn't fight him. Okay? And if any gods lost, they'd be reduced to humans again. So they'd have to descend. And these 33 idiots accepted the challenge. Martial gods lost the duel, while civil gods lost the brawl. The whole group was wiped out. When Huachang asked them to fulfill their promise, they thought that Huachang was just an arrogant ghost and wouldn't dare to go against the heaven realm. So all of them ignored him. Ah, okay. So we established that he's like, okay, I'll duel you all, and if I lose, then you all can have my bones and ashes and crush me to dust. But if I win, you have to become humans again and get demoted. Okay. And so when they had the duel and the 33 lost against them, they didn't uphold their end of the bargain. They were like, no, you're just a ghost. We're not going to let you challenge us. And so then Huang Chang burned their temples and palaces. It was like, well, then screw you all. Since the temples and worshippers are the source of their spiritual powers, the loss led to the downfall of the 33 gods. Okay. Interesting. So then, yeah, we get this shot of the man with the ribbon around his head, and then it cuts to and changes to like butterflies and everything, and he's got like the black hair. So he can maybe change his appearance, because they talked about him masquerading. So he can change his appearance. Okay. Again, we're going to tie that to the boy at the end. And not just that, these idiots out of vanity had to duel in their what does it say? What does it say there? It skipped it really quickly. Oh, I love it. Just, he turns there and had the duel in their fervent worshippers' dreams. Oh, so they dueled in the dreams of those that worshipped them. So those people started to worship Hua Chang. Oh, so then why didn't he ascend? The heaven realm was humiliated because they're worshiping a ghost, I guess. It didn't do anything for the heaven realm. So that would be embarrassing. Yes. He's a maniac. He's a sly fox. He's hot! is what Xie Lian's thinking. Right. He's a maniac. He's a sly fox. Xie Lian's like, he's also really hot. But yeah, martial gods were miserably beaten up by Hua Chang's creepy smiter. Okay, and became traumatized after that. So yeah, clearly he's serious business. The silver gods were no better. I'm pretty sure some of them spit blood as Hua Chang ruthlessly hurled all insults at them. And don't forget the rampant... I love that as they're going on, they're like, don't forget the rampant silver butterflies. I just love that they're framing these silver butterflies as like these catastrophic evil creations. And meanwhile, Xie Lian is just like reminiscing on the romantic fluttering of them as they went under the corpse forest with their hands intertwined. And then he says, somehow I find the silver butterflies adorable. It's like, oh, yeah. I'm sorry, but if anybody said rampant silver butterflies, I'd be like, that's supposed to be scary. What? But yeah, no, I'm with Xie Lian. It is adorable. And he did protect him from the blood in the forest. See, he helped him. And Xie Lian's like, well, that's not how I remember him. And he's like, so he challenged 35 gods, but only 33 accepted the challenge. Who are the other two? And Ling Wen's like, so, by the way, Shan Jin and Nan Fong, how do you know all the details? It's like, it's answering your own question, right? And I like that. I just love Nan Fong's face, like, how do you not remember any of this? Like, Nan Fong looks like he looks like the equation with all the math problems sorting around his head, and he's like, how do you forget all of this? They know everything, don't they? Ask them. They're like, we don't want to talk about it. Are you sure it was Huang Chang you met? What did he look like? He's like, well, he's in red robes and black boots and an umbrella. Like that's pretty generic, right? He didn't say exactly what he looked like. He didn't say he had silver butterflies ornating his garments and things, but don't worry about that. I feel like Hua Chang did not fight Fong and Qing, and they were the ones that were left over because they were tied. I feel like they know that Xie Lian and Hua Chang could have like had feelings for each other, and has Xie Lian just forgotten? Has Xie Lian ever met Hua Chang in a previous life? We don't know that yet. But Hua Chang clearly seems to like Xie Lian, so something's up. And then I like the white-haired deity's like, what did he do to you? And then Xie Lian's like, oh, well, he crushed Shanji's formation, showed me the way. And they're like, that's it? That's all that happened? He's like, yes. We got married, but that's not important. Not important at all. And they're like, that's very odd of him. He didn't set any traps. What on earth did he want? I have no idea. Since the two of the great Four Four Calamities have showed up. They might be colluding together. So Pei Jr.'s like, hey, we've got Hua Chong and the Green Ghost showing up around the same area. We sure they're not working together? I don't think they are, though. No, if we are misled in dispute amongst ourselves, they're the ones benefiting from it. And they're like, yes. And then Ling Wen says Hua Chong is suspicious. We shouldn't make any wild guesses. And then that's when the Pei guy says, I think the top priority now is to find out what's going on instead of who is to blame. And then Mingguang Palace will help with the investigation. What do you think, Lady Ling Wen? Yeah, this is beyond the agenda of our convention. Yeah, so yeah, I like that Pei Jr. is like, look. Okay, so Pei Jr. steps in. And Pei Jr.'s like, we should find out what is going on first. We can place blame later. We need to figure out what is going on here before we do anything else. And I agree with him. I like that. We can come to conclusions later. We got to sort everything out and figure out what the deal is first. Fair enough. Like that. I need to inform His Majesty. We'll call it a day. And then everybody's like, oh, gee, thanks. And then everybody just like zooms out of this, like blips out of the Zoom call and like, bye, I'm leaving. I'm going to leave now. Like they just dip out. And then is Fong and then so Fong says, I still have to deal with Shanji. See you. And then that's when Xie Lian says, Nan Fong. Says, and Shu and Shanjin too. Him looking at both of them. And they're the only ones left. He says, thank you for sending me the deputy gods. You know, this is the crazy thing. So now that we know that they were deputy gods under him during his first ascension, when he likely met this Bai Wushang creature, ghost, that's probably a devastation. They know that bad stuff happened to him, but they established in that argument that both of them benefited from Xie Lian being demoted. Like both of them worked their way up the ranks and kept going. And I feel like both of them feel a little guilty for it. Like maybe they feel guilty that Xie Lian was demoted and that they stayed and rose up the ranks. Like I feel like there's a little bit of guilt there on their part. But Xie Lian is not going to point out that guilt because he's a cinnamon bun and also a sass monster. And he's like, I'm not going to point this out to you. And I don't think he remembers all of it because he barely remembered Mu Qing's name. So, and then he just does the little TED tilt like, thank you for sending me the deputy gods. Thanks for helping me out. I appreciate it. And Fong is like, and Qing's like, we don't see their eyes. And then Qing says, I think your highness should really care for yourself first. Do you think you could pay off your merit debt with the offerings from worshippers of Mount Yuzhen? What do you think, Yang? And then he just leaves. He doesn't answer. I feel like Yang feels guilty of whatever happened in the past, and he doesn't want to talk about it. And Qing is kind of a sassy bitch. And he wants to bring it up, but he doesn't want to talk about it either. And they both just leave. And Xie Lian doesn't question them. Because he doesn't seem like he remembers it all either. So, interesting. Curiouser and curiouser. So we cut back to where Ling Wen is. And it's just mountains and mountains of scrolls. And we find out that the Emperor has tasked them to find out more about Hua Chong. So the Emperor is more concerned about Hua Chong than the human face disease. And I like that Xie Lian's like, I don't want to do work, but I want to go help her. And she's got like bags under her eyes. Poor girl looks beaten. She looks so tired. I feel so bad for Ling Wen. I really do. And then he's like, Ling Wen, I need to talk to you. I like that, Xie Lian, like whenever he has to converse with Ling Wen, he's like, Ling Wen. Like he's so like apologetic almost. And she's like, what? And he's like, about the 8.88 million merits I owed. And she's like, your highness, perfect timing. I have something to tell you too. And that's when she says that congratulations. The Mount Yuzhen worshippers gave their offerings. With all the merits you received, your debt has been cleared. I'm like, how? There weren't that many people on the mountain that knew what happened. 8.88 million? That's a lot. What wholesale warehouse where they finding incense sticks and they found 9 million incense sticks? Like, the math does not add up. And I guess you could add prayers and like other offerings other than incense sticks, but it's suspicious. It's really suspicious. So all of Xie Lian's debt supposedly has been cleared. Funny that. I'm like, I wonder if old Huachong has something to do with that. If maybe Huachong gathered some worshippers for Xie Lian and gained him enough merits. Because Ling Wen doesn't seem to question how it happened, just the fact that it did question. And yeah, Xie Lian's like, that shouldn't be enough. And she's like, the debt's been paid off. It's beyond me. You don't have to know But then when she says you don't have to know the details, that makes me feel like something's amiss. Something's amok. Something doesn't add up. I don't like it. And he's like, okay, thank you. And she's like, good, now get out of here. And that's when he says, by the way, what's happening here? And like all of them have bags under their eyes. They all look beat. And they're just sitting there poring over these scrolls. Oh my gosh, they all look like grad students that are like trying to gather up thesis data. They're just like, I just dig through the scroll. They look like a cohort. They're just struggling so much. After our meeting, I reported the affair about Huachong to the emperor and we're conducting an investigation. So Huachong is apparently such a big deal. He is such a headache to the heaven realm that even the emperor has made him take priority. That's pretty significant. That's pretty crazy. Our Mr. Smirk. But they established that he dueled those 33 gods while in the dreams of their worshippers. So you're looking at 33 different deities and all of their worshippers. So if he gained power from and merits from all of those individuals, that could be millions. That could be why he's so strong. But he wasn't a god. He's a ghost. So I don't want to know. I don't want to be spoiled. It's just I'm fascinated by this world building and the stuff that we're getting. And I like the Xie Lian's like, oh, my boyfriend, my potential boyfriend's getting a lot of press, huh? When your highness was in the mortal realm, you caused trouble for the helm of heaven realm. Okay. And he's like, you've been through a lot. He didn't even pay attention to her. He was like, no, don't worry about it. Because she tries to say that when Xie Lian was a mortal, he caused trouble for the heaven realm. And Xie Lian's like, you've been through a lot. Don't worry about it. Do you have plans for the future, your highness? Yeah. And he's like, oh, what? Well, you know, that's exactly why I'm here. Although I've ascended to the heaven realm, I don't have any shrines or worshippers. He's like, darn, this is a problem. It's brought a lot of trouble. So, you know, I did some serious thinking. I'm going to go build myself a shrine and be self-dependent. And there's a part of me that's like thinking that Ling Wen is seeing completely through that. Like, okay, sure, Jan. But at the same time, I mean, Xie Lian has a good point. He's like, I don't have any shrines, so I guess I should make one. Uh-huh. Since I have nothing better to do now that my debts have been repaid, I might as well go to the mortal realm and build a shrine dedicated to myself. I feel like that little him turning around being like, you know, I feel like it's such like, he's not fooling anybody, but Ling Wen's like, I can't stop you, so... Because he wants to investigate Huachong and he wants to investigate further and find out more information from... He's trying to gather information from other perspectives, not just the Zoom call with the deities. He's like, I need to figure out in the mortal realm, what are people saying? Is there any connections to Huachong and the others? Like, is there anything tying them all together? Like, what's the deal? And so this is his, like, thinly veiled excuse to go. And Ling Wen is like, okay, wait. And he leaves before she can argue. Like, she's so tired and consumed with investigating Huachong that she doesn't really have any chance to argue with him. It's kind of amazing. But yeah, so he goes down here, and the little shrine that he builds reminds me a lot of the ED, the shrine that this deserted house near the entrance is occupied. It's a Taoist shrine. And then they're like, let's go see who's managing it. And it's this little bare bone shack that our boy Xie Lian, he's just like sitting there dusting, like cleaning it up, ready to go. Our little deity that could. And then they ask him if the god that the shrine is dedicated to is like a god of wealth. And they're like, well, who is Xie Lian? And he's like, well, who's the crown prince? What can he do? He can protect his worshippers. Okay. So Xie Lian, old Xie Lian, is saying that Xie Lian, he protects worshippers. His whole thing is protecting others. And then the villagers are like, well, can Xie Lian give us wealth? And he's like, perhaps not, sorry. And like, what about a career and promotion? Nope. And they're like, I want Lady Ling Wen instead. It's like, oh no. So he's like, your god is worthless. No wonder you're so poor. You shouldn't enter the trade. Taoists shouldn't worship the wrong god. You should convert to worshiping the Water Master. His attribute of bringing wealth. So let's go back to that. They say the Water Master would attract instant offerings. So they say that he should worship the Water Master. And we're going to talk about this. So when they said Water Master, I instantly thought of the Black Ghost, but that doesn't seem to be the same thing because one, it's a ghost, and two, they said the Black Ghost was like really introverted. So it's probably not the same thing. But it attracts wealth. And Lady Ling Wen's all right too. She might bless us with principal graduates. He's like, well, or you could worship General Dick. General Dick. Oh my God. I can't. And Xie Lian's like, I'm done here. He's like, sure. Okay. Like the animation, a little frog jumping in there. Like, please work hard if only he was Lady Ling Wen. General Dick is honorable too. Yes. So they just have his name wrong. It's amazing. But then Xie Lian's like, no, I can do this. Xie Lian, it's going to be fine. There will be worshippers and offerings one day. Oh, he's so sweet and cinnamon bunny. It's just too cute. Now, there was part of that roof fell, and I'm like, okay, was it the panels of the roof actually falling, or was it Hua Chong watching over him? At this point, what was it? We don't know. So he goes into town and starts running around town, gathering up all these materials to try to find out as much as he can about the history of what's been going on in the mortal realm, so he kind of educate himself. And I love the hat with the veil. What would we say? It was a Mingyao. I love it. And he's just like being good and kind to everybody and just trying to find out new things. And everybody's kind of like, okay, you seem too good to be true. But yeah, he goes and gets pots and pans and then all the information. And then walks back with firewood and everything else. And his little bag, it's like his bags are like Wanji sleeves, carrying all the things. And so then that's when he finds as luck would have it, there's the cart. I don't know. This boy in the red, I'm like, it seems awfully coincidental that on all the carts, it's like Casablanca. Of all the hay carts and all the lands, yours just happened to be the one that happened to be mine. Like, come on. I don't know. Seems too good. Seems too convenient. But Xie Lian is back there looking through all the scrolls, and it's the gossip about gods. So he's like, okay, let's find out the gossip about gods. Let's find out what everybody's saying about the deities. Like, let's get the tea on the deities and figure out what's up. Anecdotes of ghosts. Okay, I obtained good things. So there's gossip about gods, anecdotes about ghosts. Oh, I love the alliteration. Gossip about gods. All right. And so he says it should be enough to remodel the shrine. Oh, and he's like, I paid money to build my shrine, and yet I earned money by collecting scraps. Oh, collecting scraps is way better than ascension. Oh, okay. So he was collecting, so he's a scrap collector. Oh my gosh. This little Cinderella story. He's so cute with the little face, though. And then one of the scrolls unravels and happens to have information about him in it. Interesting. He's like, I'm mentioned in this too. And so then he says, the crown prince of Shanla has ascended 3 times. A martial god, plague god, and a scrap collecting god. Okay. So he has been a god 3 times. He's been a martial god, which battles monsters. And we saw that in the flashback way back in the first couple episodes. So the martial god. And then we had the plague god. Now the plague god is when he was only a god for 30 minutes. So is that maybe when Bai Wushang was there and he got demoted during that? They tried to battle Bai Wushang and then that ended up going awry, and so after 30 minutes, he was demoted. So that was the short term. And now he is the scrap collecting god. Which explains why his little shrine is like a little hut. Okay, so apparently he collected scraps and was able to ascend through that. We don't know the circumstances yet, and I don't want to be spoiled, but that's interesting that he went from like battling monsters to 30 minutes fighting a plague and went south to scrap collecting. Okay. Curiouser and curiouser. He's like, all right, at least I'm a god. A martial god and a scrap collecting god are similar. How? I'm like, a scrap collecting god? Like, how are you battling monsters that way? He doesn't mention the plague god, which I'm thinking is tied to the Bai Wushang. Okay. He says all gods are equal and so are all living beings. Is that so? Okay, all right. So we get this voice from this clearly not Hua Chong character. So he says people like to talk about equality. If it's achieved, will there still be gods? Yeah, that's a really good point, because old Xie Lian is like, oh, well, all beings are created equal. All gods are equal. All human beings are equal. And our, I'm going to bring him down here, this mystery boy, Mr. Mystery over here, our mystery boy. He says that no, not all beings are equal. That's not how things work. Sounds quite jaded for a youth. Yeah, will there still be gods? And just sitting there on the hay, but he has like the string over the top of his, kind of like Hua Chong, and he's in the red, and his hair kind of hangs down. He doesn't have nearly as much hair, though. He doesn't look as elegant with the red eyeliner, and has like somewhat of a smirk. But if he's mortal, it's like Sean Lee. It's like Xie Lian. Don't be gods can't hook up with mortals, right? Is that a thing? And then he's like, that made sense too. Water Master Voodoo is in charge of water and wealth. But he has the black boots on too! He looks like Hua Chong. So the Water Master is Voodoo and goes over water and wealth. Okay, so he's like the god of the area. How could a water master also be in charge of wealth? Yeah, like how does he end up with both? Shouldn't he just be a master of wealth or water? How does he do both things? And then this kid says, since tradesmen often ship goods by water, they would pray for safety at the water master temple. And gradually the water master was also in charge of wealth. So it just kind of like, as the trade and wealth accumulated, he just became linked to it. And so those offerings made him that deity of wealth. Okay. And then the water master must be powerful. Yes, he's a water tyrant. So that's not, tyrants aren't usually good things. So he is a tyrant. And again, if we're tying to these deities possibly not being all sunshine and roses, then, but that begs the question, right? That begs the question, if there are deities, and the deities seem to be at the same level as the calamities, who are the ghost kings. So the ghost kings sound an awful lot like deities too. So why is there a distinction? Why are there two realms that are, opposing seemingly? What's the deal? We don't know that yet, but he's a water tyrant. Okay. He's like, water tyrant. He would capsize ships that didn't make him offerings. But that sounds like the black ghost. See, so that's what's so weird, is that the black ghost sounds kind of like the voodoo guy. That they know little about him, and that he's a water ghost, and they call him a water tyrant. So he seems like voodoo, but then Xie Lian seemed like Bai Wushang. So is it possible that the deities that lose their way can become these levels of calamities? I don't know yet. I don't want to be spoiled. I don't want to know that, but so much to think about. Okay. So hence the name Water Tyrant. He's like, I see. He's like, you know quite a lot for someone your age. I have too much time to kill. Interesting. You know a lot about the gods. Yeah, what about ghosts? Which ghost? As they enter the shade. As they enter the shade. And there's the autumn leaves. Oh, and there, he says, the crimson rain sought flower Huachong. Oh, and so then Ling Wen, okay, so we cut back to Ling Wen saying, wait a minute, I don't want to jinx it, but when you travel in the mortal realm, you might come across Huachong again. So please remember this. Huachong rose from Mount Tonglu. So Mount Tonglu is where he is from. Okay. Mount Tonglu. And where thousands of ghosts kill each other. Any ghost king who survived the trial is sly, brutal, and fickle. So, however, okay, so if Huachong, all right, I'm just going to theory craft here. I do not want to know if I'm right or wrong. I will find out as we go. But my theory right now is that that kid in the bandages at the very beginning in the flashback with Xie Lian became a ghost somehow on this Mount Tonglu, fought his way up to this devastation rank to be the strongest ghost, and he's driven by a passion to see his long-lost love again, which is Xie Lian, and has waited all this time to get back with him. And I don't know how this boy ties into this, because the boy seems mortal, and seems different than Huachong, but if Huachong can change his appearance, that changes. If we find out that Huachong can change his appearance, that would be everything, but we don't know that for sure yet. So the fact that they said that the bridegroom could change its appearance makes me think that Huachong possibly could too. I don't know. And the fact that the bride herself, she could become the smoke, or she could like possess others, like that makes me think that maybe this kid's possessed by Huachong. We don't know yet, but yeah, Ling Wen's like, though maybe he was kind to you, but you should never let your guard down. Just try to avoid him. And Xie Lian is not going to avoid him, I feel. I feel like Xie Lian is going to do the opposite of avoiding him, because he's too curious. He wants to know. And does he answer about Huachong? Look, him looking at him! Ah! He doesn't answer the question, and that's where it ends. He asked him about Huachong, and he didn't answer the question. And now we're going to wait on episode 6. How dare you, show? How dare you? How dare you? Oh my gosh. So, does that make sense, right? I've been talking for over an hour. Okay, great. Talked like for an hour and 10 minutes. Awesome. So yeah, I don't want any of my theories confirmed or deconfirmed. This is awesome. The fact that I like have to bring Whiteboard-kun out and break this down and be like, okay, what is happening? The Four Calamities is awesome. I love the idea of having like 4 maybe antagonistic creatures to deal with. I don't think Huachong is an antagonist. Nah, Mr. Smirk, no. He is our love interest of our god. It's star-crossed lovers, ultimate Romeo and Juliet. But if this Bai Wuxing is still alive, that's problematic, because that seems to be Xie Lian's biggest fear. The Blackwater Ghost sounds an awful lot like Master Wu do. We'll see if they're related. And then the Green Coast just sounds like... Qi-Rong just sounds kind of like Yang from Modazushi. Sounds like it could be a fun villain. If it's a villain, we'll see. I feel like we're going to get a lot of things challenging the heavenly realm and the ghost realm in what is right and what is wrong. And I'm really excited about that. But I'm excited to know more about our mystery boy, little Smirk Jr. Old Smirk Jr. I'm going to call him Smirk Jr. for right now, because I don't know. The clothes are too similar. That just casual attitude. I'm like, because you would think maybe like Huachong reincarnated into this kid, but we just saw Huachong and he clearly was not destroyed. to our knowledge. So no, I'm like, either they're not related at all, which it could be, or Hua Chong has the ability to shapeshift and is this Mr. Smirk Jr. Smirk Jr. over here. But yeah, Smirk Jr. and Xie Lian. I'm like, Xie Lian. But we don't know enough about the boy with the bandages. He's still missing and at large. I feel like his whole plot point is going to come back at the end of the season. Right now, we're going to have to deal with Smirk Jr. and figure out, why does he know all this stuff? What's his deal? And is Xie Lian going to just leave and forget about him, and this guy's going to follow after him? What's going to happen? I don't think I can wait a week to watch episode 6. I don't. I'm going out of town next weekend, and so I had planned to watch ahead anyway, to be like, I need to watch ahead to begin with. So I don't know how many comments I'm going to get to between now and then, but I may have to watch episode 6 before I get to y'all's comments. So if that happens, you'll have to forgive me. I'll just have way more comments for episode 7. That's all. It's fine. But I'm so excited, y'all. I'm so excited. But we'll see. Maybe I can wait. Maybe I can hold off. Maybe. But I'm curious to know your comments down below. Please, no spoilers, no hints, no clues. Don't deconfirm my theories. Let me ride these theories out and be proven wrong. But I'm so excited by this mystery, and I want to be able to go through it and solve it as we go. I'm sure we're going to get more pieces of information, and it's going to change the game, and I'm so hyped. So I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction discussion. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with episode 6, the halfway point of Heaven Official's Blessing. Bye.